Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel again. If you have not already subscribed it, I would recommend to highly subscribe this channel as I'll be posting some videos on different technologies and skill sets. This video is in continuation for the React series that I've been posting it around, and in this video we are going to talk about events. So this particular events video would also be classified into different parts because whenever we want to capture events, it can be on buttons, on radio buttons, or checkboxes, or any other thing. So before we can actually delve on to the practical, we need to really understand what are events and how we can capture them in React. Now, events are technically some kind of a click or some kind of a action that has been taken on any kind of a, let's say, a component or some kind of a subcomponent like button or anything. So let's say if we are clicking a button, this is technically an event is being registered on that event. Now, whenever the event happens, we can take any particular action on that event. So let's say if I click a button, we want to show alert box, or we want to change the color of the background of the HTML page, or we want the person to move on to some different location, or let's say a different web page. So we can do all that stuff on the clicking of that event. So it means primarily there are two things which we need to remember. One is the event, that is like click, or let's say on a radio button you can also click, or on a let's say a drop down combo box you can change the selected component. So these are all events. And the second thing is what you really want to do as a part of that event. That's your corresponding action. Now if you see this small screenshot over here, this is technically a small example where we have a button and we are using an on click event over here. So if the button is clicked, then we are specifying some kind of a function called as show content, which would be called, and then this function, whatever we have written in that, we want to display an alert or do a console.log or anything, that would be executed within that function. And rest of the input or anything like value, show, these are all the same things. So similar way we can capture these events on different controls. We'll see it in the subsequent videos, but right now in this video we'll be concentrating primarily on the button and learn how to register the events, how to capture those events, how to create those functions, and how to code certain kind of actions on those buttons. So stay tuned, and I'm going to actually demonstrate how to capture those events. So let's see how we can use a button to capture an event and then take an action subsequently on the click of that button. So for that, let me create a type is equal to button in this component, which is a my address component. We did use it in the previous video. If you have not already been seeing all the series video, I would highly recommend to see all those videos, because you'll find I'm just using the same project and the same examples going forward. So let's say we are creating an input type is equal to button, and then I'll say value is equal to show, something like that. Now this is technically a very simple HTML control, which is a button type, but now I just want to use an event. So I'll say on click event, and then I'll simply say within those curly bracelets, that is whatever the function name I want to write it down. So let's say it is called as a show content function. Now whenever I'm going to click this button, the show content is going to be called around. Now let's try creating this function and see whether we can exactly register this or not. So show content, and this is the function, and what we want to do is, let's say we just want to show hi, you clicked the show button. Okay, that's a simple alert we are going to display. Now let's try go back to the here, and then we'll just see if I can just use this. So there is a show button out here with the address component, and then if I click on the show, so you would see this is a particular alert that we just registered it out, and then it just gets displayed. So when I click this, the button is clicked. This is the event register on that particular component, and then the corresponding action is being taken. Now let's say if you want to change something, you don't want to display an alert, you just want to show a console.log. Hi, this is being displayed in the console.log. Now what's happening over here is, if you go back and run this, so you can just see over here, we can actually like click the show, and then it just displays within the console.log. So whether you want to display an alert, or you want to do a console.log, or even you can capture the DOM model also. So if I go back and I just want to do this thing also, document dot body dot style dot background, that's my color, and if I say, let's say green, now what's gonna happen is, on the click of this button, I'm not only displaying console.log, which would be displayed within the console, but also I'm changing the body style background color to green. So let's go back and check that out whether this works or not. So if I click on show, yes, so this is displayed one time more because that was already displayed, and it changed the color back to green. So you can create multiple buttons or like multiple components and can do the register event. So let's say if I just use this, copy and paste that, let's say, and paste it over here. So let's say this is red. I just want to change the color to red on here. So I'll say change color, something like that. So now this is another function which I want to create. So I'll create change color, and I'll simply say document dot body dot style dot background is equal to red. Now if I do this and go back and then refresh it, so I have a show and a red. So if I just click on this, it would change to that. If I click onto this, it changes to this color. So this is how you are registering those events within that. Now let's try to look at, if we want to follow, let's say we are not just doing simply the changing of the color or anything, rather we want to pass the arguments to this function. How we can pass this, that's another thing which we need to learn. So now if we want to use pass arguments within the function that's being used for the action or for the event registration, we can do that. So let's say we'll just use for the first show button where we are going to pass an argument. So we'll use a fat arrow function, and then we'll say show content. Let's say I pass on a value, let's say green, that is 1, and then I'm gonna pass another, let's say 1, and there is another value which I'll pass, active. So there are technically 3 arguments which I'm passing. So within the show content function, I have to change and then receive those arguments. So the first one is value, the second one is, let's say, the number, and then the third one is let's say is active or something like that. Now if we want to display those values, so we can just simply say console.log the value, let's say we'll use the tick notations, the values are, and we'll use the first one is color, then the second one is, for example, number, and then the third one is active. So we'll just try to display this and see whether this works or not. So let's try commenting this line and go back and see. So refresh this. Okay, so we have show red. So we'll click on show, and then it just simply says the values are green, 1, and is active. So let's try see why the value is not displayed correctly. So is active. Oh, I forgot the $sign. So we just need to put, because it's a tick symbol, the string interpolation. So we'll just now use that, refresh it, show, and then we'll get the values green, 1, active. So that's how you can pass on multiple values to a function. If we are going to use passing of the values, we can use a fat arrow notation to pass on those values. Now before we can end this video, there's one more thing which you need to understand, is the event arguments. Now let's say if I pass on an argument over here, let's say an event. Now this event represents two things. One, that is what kind of an event is there, and secondly, on which object the event is being registered. Now in this case, the event is being registered on type button. So if I just go over here and I'll say displaying, I will use the tick notations, displaying event details, and I'll say dollar. So one is event dot, because that the event, so I'm just gonna pass another argument. So let's say I'll remove these arguments and I'll just keep two arguments, event dot target dot value. So that's the one, so I'll just use as value, and then the second one is the type, right? So that's what we can do with the help of event dot target dot type, right? So if we see over here, now we can just use that value and we can say dollar type. So now these two will not really work for us, so we'll just cancel that out. So we are just displaying a value and the type. Now when we say event dot target dot value, so this technically means that the target means the button on which the event is happening. The value is actually the value which the button has, that would be show, that would be displayed. And then event dot target dot type. Now target is actually a button, so its type would also be a button. So there can be 100 buttons on the page, and whatever the target is, target means on which particular button it is happening, and type means which particular type of event is happening. So you can actually use that. So now if we go back and display this, refresh it, so if we click on this, so if you say display type events show, so this was the value, and button, that was the actual type. So these were the two things which we can capture it out. So this way we have learned in this video how to capture the events and how we can use those events within the functions. We have also learned how we can pass on arguments to the functions those are being registered within those events, and how we can even use the event arguments. That's like gives you meta information about the type of the event, on what object it is being passed, and what kind of a values that object has. So I hope this video is going to help you a lot, and would help you understanding the events and how we can use them within the React. So thank you guys for joining me for this video. I'll be back with another video with the same series, so that we can continue learning with the React. And till then, a very goodbye from my side to all the people around here. Have a good one. Thank you.